Ruse Radio.
Every single one is the same thing. Everything is sterilized. Everything is trying to cater to a general audience.
Right.
Everybody wants for everyone to connect with their piece.
To the point where they don't take risks in stories anymore.
Yeah, and I mean, that's like...
It's just everything feels by the book and safe in this way. And I think like it's been a problem forever where it's like to write something commercial, it has to be commercial. So you want something to sell, you want people to fund it. There's a certain amount of selling your soul that you will see. And this has been the thing the whole time. It's not like this problem never didn't exist. But it's just so true that something happened. I think streaming might be part of it. I'm not quite sure. But there's just a dip in expectations now. And I mean, like, all you have to do is look at, like, the popular zeitgeist shows. Like, I think the end of Stranger Things was just so bad compared to the beginning of the show. But we've entered this time where, like, it's not, like, worse
What didn't you like about how Stranger Things ended?
The fact that all of the things that were important about the show were not important anymore. So it's like, if you're a fan of this, like, because this is what people say, is they'll say, oh, you didn't like it because you just didn't want to like it. But that's not what happened.
No.
A lot of people who were genuinely interested in where this story is going to go, and it's hard to end anything. So that's the problem they had from the start, is how are we going to wrap this up? And then, but the problem is, it's kind of like the Game of Thrones situation in the sense that you have two people telling you, oh, this was the plan all along, and this was like a genius master stroke ending. And then you watch it, and it just kind of feels like it's just kind of thrown together last minute. And then you get the fact that the actual writing is worse because you have this Netflix mandate thing that's literally happening in front of our eyes now.
I noticed that. I smelled it the second.
It's crazy.
The first episode of the new season, I smelled it right
They're
away.
talking to you like you aren't watching. And then they do this thing where they used to do it in the show, because I was watching clips. They have always done this, but it's so ham-fisted in the last season where, to the point where the last episode, they show you something that happened 20 minutes ago in like there'll be like a flashback, and which I hate when movies do this in general. I just think any time that you feel like you need to tell the audience, unless it's like an editing choice or it's super well done, you should never be flashing on screen something that already happened, because that means you failed the first time at establishing, and it's like a writing fuck up now.
But they do that because it was streaming, but that's what I smelled bullshit from the second.
There's so much that goes
First of all,
wrong,
they
dude.
released it on Christmas when they knew everybody was going to be around with nothing to do, and so everybody
They waited till 8 p.m.
Well, that's when everybody was going to be finally tuckered out to hit the couch.
All right.
And then they did the same thing a week later.
On New Year's.
On New Year's, when they knew everybody was going to be together, and so they were trying to gain this viewership.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't think it was a good strat.
I am Netflix.
You're right, but I don't know if it was a good strat.
But here's the other thing, to kind of what you said, how they're two different shows by the end of it.
Yeah.
Which
should happen but it should be an evolution of the original.
The ending
idea.
didn't earn itself.
It didn't earn itself. And the thing is, there's so many things you could have done. I mean, it just feels like it's like Game of Thrones. People compare them because Game of Thrones, at least that ending was bad. Like the last 2 or 3 seasons are bad, but at least it introduces stakes in the final season, and it's like, oh, this is happening, and it feels like an ending. Whereas Stranger Things doesn't even feel like an ending to me.
It felt like it kept ending, and then something insignificant was a problem as big as like a real big problem that they just solved. I'm like, why are you reacting to this smaller thing when you just got done like blowing up the whole, upside down?
There's this weird consistency.
They just kept and so what I said going into it, because I watched it with my brothers, and they're a little tougher audience than I am, because
I'm a tough crowd at this point.
Because I know I'm like, there's reasons why like the kids look fucking 40 now. First, like, or they're in their 20s. Like they look like they're in their 20s.
Yeah.
So first things first, it's going to be hard to get that same charm, because when you watch that first season, the whole thing that draws you in is that group of friends on their bikes, and the fuck you, or the shit, that raw grittiness of the 80s and of school and everything, which again they didn't have any. I don't hold that against it.
Yeah.
And I knew before I even watched it and I'm sorry that we didn't record this before it came out so that you know that this actually happened. But I had the feeling that 11 was going to die at the end because all of the great shows do that.
Well, and what makes me so upset about it too is, okay, listen. Nobody believes any of these stupid moments when it's like, oh, unless you really do something crazy and kill somebody off. And this show has established itself as the show that brings in side characters just to kill them. Like you've made a joke out of it at this point. There was the first season, second season, third season. They just do it over and over.
And it's the same thing.
Yeah. And so it's like, I feel like if you want me to believe you, and then like the way that you play danger in the show is you're just being ridiculous now, because you'll have these things that kill off anybody who says anything like remotely mean. Like obviously you have these characters who are just like there to get killed or attacked by these monsters, and then you have your characters I'm supposed to care about that are just safe from everything at all times. So a woman is attacking this monster with a wine bottle. That is so ridiculous. It's like a joke. It's like an actual like SNL sketch. Like that's ridiculous.
There were a lot of moments like that.
That's so ridiculous. Like patently dumb of an idea that I had to like sit back and be like, all right, I have to watch this differently because this is not what I thought it was going to be.
Dude, literally, I'm so glad that there was no recording devices around because we talked through the entire final season.
And the first season, the reason I am so bothered is the first season was so good.
It was excellent.
It was actually
maybe
like,
even the first. What was the season where they end up in the mall?
The third.
The first three were, I think.
I think the problem is with the fourth one. What they fucked up is they turned it into. They wanted a Freddy Krueger like villain, and what they did was they took away. It's like if you had David Lynch and you had the assassination or the murder of Laura Palmer. You have this egg, this goose that lays golden eggs, and then you have this corporation, this network telling you have to solve the mystery. And so eventually what happens is you solve that mystery, that beautiful thing that makes your thing so mysterious and thought-provoking, and now it's not quite so interesting anymore. And that's what they did with the show. In season 4, they introduced this character where it's like, oh, it's not this Lovecraftian monster, this darkness we can't understand. It's actually just this guy that was corrupted. It's just this guy. And it's like, oh, but that's not as fun. And then now they're at the very end, they explain the upside down. Don't explain that. Don't tell me that it's connected.
And then it's this
don't
whole
explain
new
this stuff
thing with the tube. You know, spoiler alerts. You know, we'll put spoiler alerts in there with like the connections and shit. What I said before even starting the final season was, I said, boys, by the time we're done watching all of this, you're going to be able to take half of what we watched the week of Christmas and half of what we watched the week of that they send out the final piece, and you would have been able to put those all into one really nice little thing. And Vecna had the potential to be the next Freddy Krueger.
He did.
And what they did is, going back to what we were talking about before, the way they wrote that last season was totally different than the way they wrote the first season. It's not just about the kids getting older. It's about the amount of money that was being offered, which I don't know of.
Dude, it's in the 200s of millions.
Yes.
I want to say they spent $270 million.
They were offered a fuck ton of money.
Of course
they had a huge budget.
Monster budget.
And so rather than focus on, the story, they were focusing on how do we make the story bigger and how do we spend all this money and make this seem like it grew into this thing. And what they did is they sacrificed all of the characters and the connections that they had and who we were rooting for, and then they split them up, which was, that's like watching a short of the Three Stooges where all three of them are in a different room together.
It's like when they made a season of Arrested Development where it wasn't all of them in one house. Like that's what I think the third season was when they finally brought the show back.
Yeah,
and that was like everybody was like, yeah, it's great to have the show, but that's
it just didn't feel the same.
Yeah, I think it was season 4.
You need that, again, because that was an ensemble show.
Exactly. You can't do an ensemble without doing an ensemble.
And people don't think of Stranger Things as an ensemble show.
They just can't. The show can't even help themselves. They'll just add 3 characters for no reason.
Yeah.
It's such a big ensemble. It's crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
almost It's like it's a balancing act at that point because you're holding everything on a plate.
and here is something else that I sniffed out that I found to be really inauthentic.
Okay.
Was, I was really excited to watch it.
Me too.
And so I kept up on all the news about, when it was coming out, or like what the actors were doing, because that was the one thing that kind of pissed me off. Is like 3 out of the 4 or 5 kids didn't really do anything with their acting chops,
yes.
or get better at. They were like, I'm real famous from Stranger Things, and I'm just going to show. I'm taking however many months off, and then I'm just going to go back to set, and I'm not doing any work. And you could tell in their performance. The only one of those kids, other than Millie Bobby Brown, who I thought was an excellent actress from the beginning, and then the writing was terrible. But she's always been brilliant.
Yeah.
But the kid that played Dustin, I think, had the sharpest chops. And you see that he was doing Broadway shows. He kept working at it. And then you could tell on screen that he was the strongest actor.
I think the guy who does. Are you only referring to the kid actors? I think the guy who does
the
Steve,
children.
He's all right. He seems like he was still working, but even
the older kids were fine. I'm talking about the children.
See, and the thing about the children too is like it's interesting because you never really had a show that's done this. So it's a weird case experiment where you had these kids who were like, again, that's the novelty of the show at the beginning, is they're so young. And so it's weird that they grow up and you kind of see. It's, again, that meta thing where, like, the actual meta bleeds into the show because you can't help but to think about it. Like, it's not, like, they got famous off of this show. And now it's been 9 years. Mm-hmm. And so you can almost feel the stiltedness of their performance because, like, the story tells itself. Like, it's in the show. You saw them get famous off the show, and now it's like, oh, they're not even the character they were before. And it's actually kind of crazy because the show can't help but rely on these actors so much because they are the show. So you have to have the same person delivering these lines. It was funny. In the last episode, there's a moment where, because they always kind of ignore the age gap. Like they try to not acknowledge that.
Right.
But there's a moment when you have the David Harbour character saying to the Millie Bobby Brown character, you're not a kid anymore. And I'm thinking, but by the show's logic, she is still a kid.
Exactly.
So you can't say that to her, but it's because she's an actress.
Yeah, because she's
that isn't a kid anymore.
20s and she doesn't look like a kid anymore, and they didn't do any work to try and make any of them look like kids.
Well, you know how expensive de-aging the whole show would have been. I mean, that would have been amazing.
But I don't believe in any of that either.
They could have done something. I think, Better Call Saul got away with it. Somehow they got away with it. We just accepted that he was supposed to be 15 years younger when clearly
they wigged
Bob
him up
Odenkirk,
and we took it.
we just took it.
The writing was so good.
Yeah, that's all you got to do.
It took you out of it. Like you didn't care. The story of all that was so great.
Exactly, and that's how you do it. You have to make the story so good that I don't even care that you're trying to.
And they did not.
And they
Stranger
didn't do
Things
that.
did not do that. It was a cash grab.
Oh, the fact. I mean, so the 11 thing, you said the 11 thing. To me, what's so upsetting about that is you are betraying your audience when you do make choices like this. Because what you're doing is you're teasing us. You're like, oh, there's not a real ending. It's for fun. But that way, you're not the only risk that you took was killing that character, and that's kind of like a bookend ending where it's like I don't even agree that she would do that. If you follow the logic of the previous 4 seasons, because the whole point of her story arc is she wants to be a human, have friends, and like have real human relationships, and she was born in this lab, so that her arc is becoming a human. And then the last season, it's like fuck you, actually, go die.
Yeah, exactly.
What?
And then again, the introduction of all these new characters that don't matter, and then they're like, all right, we're gonna bring Linda Hamilton in,
which was wild that they fumbled that.
Yeah, I mean, great move. I was like, I enjoyed it for the first 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And then I was like, you're just trying to make me like this.
Yeah.
Because you know that the people that are watching this were from the 80s and they're going to go, oh shit, Linda Hamilton from Terminator.
Yeah.
And
the character doesn't justify its own existence.
No.
Yeah.
Again, not really earning itself.
Yeah.
And where, I'm not going to speak to how it should have ended. Because it's an impossible question. It's their project, and they ended it that way.
And I think that's what everybody who's like an armchair writer does, and they don't realize there's so many factors that led to what you saw.
And the other
so
thing,
hard to say.
I think that we need to give it a little bit of, just to go a little easier on it.
Okay.
Is to give it time.
Give it time?
Yes, because what I've noticed is when I noticed it with Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
When you're watching it and you have to wait, there's almost so much of an expectation, or even like you wondering what your curiosity almost distracts you from actually drinking it all in and watching it.
Yeah.
So I noticed that sometimes when I go back and I watch something again, I'm less critical of it, because I already know what's going to happen, so I'm able to appreciate what's happening. And I did notice that with the last season of Stranger Things, because the last episode of that first chunk before they did the 2.5 hour final,
that one was good.
That last episode.
Oh, wait, no. Continue.
The last episode before the finale,
7? Like episode 7, 5, 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one, because it was that episode, and then they had the final, right?
Yeah.
Finale. That episode, I thought, was a prime example of when they built up to all of this stuff, and then they just popped all of everything that they were building to. Now I read in the tabloids that the actor that played Will was gay. Yeah. And going into watching it, I said, I know these Netflix producers are going to shoehorn this thing from his real life into the story. And I don't care if he's gay. That's great. If
they tried to connect it to the story.
Well, and they tried to, and here's what I keep hearing in the first few seasons. People keep saying, well, but what about the way he was looking at Mike? And to me, as a spectator or as an audience member, I thought that he was always apprehensive of Eleven.
Yeah.
Because she was strange and almost an alien-like character.
Yeah.
So people now are like, no, Will was always jealous of Eleven.
There's a line in the first episode where Joyce, and I didn't even remember this till my sister told me. She says, like the first episode, she says that one of the guys named Lenny has called him a fag. Like she says that word. Like there's older people that make fun of him for looking gay. So it's like you could even argue episode 1. There's seeds being planted.
But also that
to
was
me,
so.
It's like it's so ambiguous. Why do you have to do this?
It's also part. That language was such a part of the landscape at the time.
The landscape,
it was appropriate to talk that way.
And not only
at the
this,
time.
I feel like the way they handled it, if the story you're telling me, the reason this resonates is because it's an 80s story. And the whole point is, it's hard for him to come out because it's the 80s, which you already did well on this show. They already did that with the Robin character. That was a good thing.
It was done.
It was done, and you did it well. It's like you just handled it in such a graceful way. Like, oh, she's gay, by the way. And that was it. It wasn't like a sanctimonious moment. It was just like, hey, gotcha. Because the whole season is you think it's her and Steve, and you think that's what's going to happen.
Right? And then
the bait and switch at the end.
And
that's
that was
good.
great. And that was great.
Good.
And that
you already did it.
It earned itself.
Exactly. So that's what gets me is like this show has already proved that they can do that good. Mm-hmm. Why are you doing it in this sanctimonious, like terrible pacing way? Why are you putting this last moment
and this sequence?
I'm sure you're right. It's
so
forced.
out of sequence because they build to this thing where they're like, all right, let's do it.
The world is ending.
And then all of a sudden, it's like, all right, here we go. Bump, 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 bump. And then Will's like, wait. Everyone needs to come in here. And I was like, and then just the way the framing was where it was like wide and everyone was sitting around him. Like literally, I had my mouth open and I was like, I can't believe that they're not wasting precious time on it, because there was a time for it in the story.
Yeah.
Where I feel that the way they put it in there was disrespectful to the point they were trying to make.
Yeah.
Where, Where it was like, hey, we want to. It was, to me, it was like a scene of what straight people think coming out looks like.
And that's what I was like. To me, that's what's odd. Like, it's just bad storytelling. You're not humanizing it. You're actually being patronizing. And it's like we've gotten to the point where an audience can tell the difference, and all I got to do is look at a single comment section about what happened here. Like, I think the people who try to justify this stuff, they just like a show, and they're just going with whatever they think they're supposed to do. But it's like there's people in the gay community that are getting upset. That shouldn't be happening. You shouldn't have gay people saying in a comment section, "This may like I can't believe they did this. This is like a laughable portrayal of my group."
Yeah, or of their
to me,
experience.
I can tell it's insulting and belittling. I can see that from the outside looking in. I feel like that's like you're showing that you don't even understand what that. And I think also what happens is you get people who do say hateful things because you have done this. Like you have the fact. You think you're doing this thing.
They can smell it. They can smell what you've done.
And so then people start to actually say stuff that's bad, and it's because you're just bullshitting, and people don't like bullshit, and then they associate the bullshit with the thing that you're doing. So then you have people saying bad things about a gay community, but that's not even what they're really saying. They're just saying they hate this false portrayal of this gay community.
Exactly.
And so, but that gets misinterpreted as this hate, but it's not hate. People just want good stories. You can easily do something like that. But it's funny. The comment you'll see is like rainbow fatigue, and I think that's a funny way to put it, because it's really just. Or I think the other thing I'll see people say is they had to put in the message, and that to me that's what's happening. People just see that there was this story that was not that, it was something else on its own merit, and you put this thing in the story to satisfy people. It's like the same reason where I feel like I get annoyed. I feel like an old man because I have to like figure out, are they putting in this type of character because they're trying to satisfy a certain group, or are they putting in this character because they wanted to have this character in the story? And like there are so many instances now where I feel like people do think they have to cross this diversity box. They have to do these things, but that's not how you tell a story.
A great example.
That should just happen naturally. You shouldn't be doing that. On
naturally is what it's about.
Yeah,
and I know I already sound like an edgelord, and I promise you I'm not.
That's my problem. I'm trying not to.
I promise you I'm not. For the record,
I just want storytelling.
Yes, for the record, I'm not telling you what to do, and I also don't like anime, and I also don't collect any Pokemon or anything. That's a disclaimer, because the way I'm talking right now is like, oh man, Stranger Things should have probably done this instead. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that I'm holding them to the standard that they initiated.
Yeah, and I think like storytelling, you have to have standards. You just can't not have standards.
Don't you think, this is the edgelord part now, don't you think as characters in the show that Will would be, because there's a moment when Robin and Will are talking on top of the tower and all that. Don't you think that Will's moment would have been, him first talking about it with Robin and admitting it to somebody else? That's more realistic trust, because he has somebody there to kind of guide him, someone who's older, a role model who's like, hey, you're good, you could do this. And I didn't think they showed that as much. They didn't.
They tried to imply it, but they could have actually done it.
I mean, but the other thing is to audience members who are non-homosexual might not be picking up on those things.
Right.
Though.
Yeah.
And the thing is those things are as important to non-homosexual audience members as it is to the homosexuals.
Yeah.
And
because this is the moral of the story. Like, what is the purpose of this? It's not just, oh, he's gay. It's like, why is him being gay relevant to what's happening?
And especially, why is it relevant right before they're about to do.
I thought they already
all
did it
this.
well, even with the end of episode 4, where it's like, I don't care for like the scene where you're kind of pushing. They were kind of pushing it with the him and Robin thing, but I'm like, okay, this is like, because the way the show had handled it up to this point in my mind is like, the audience has always said that. There's always like this Will gay theory. I've seen this already. So I think like if the show's leaning into that, that's interesting. Just I'm waiting to see how they handle it. And so when they had that Robin talk, it's like the show's already done this thing where we're in this dire scenario and we're all talking about our feelings. So really that's what I'm thinking. Is like, why are they having all these conversations, like just slow paced, totally random ass conversations now? That's the only critique I could have of that. It's like, okay, she's actually the character who would help him realize his gayness. But like you said, you would think you would lean into that a little bit more and do a little bit more of that and have him so far as confide in her. But instead, I guess it's like she just had really good spidey senses and just knew he was gay and she knew all the right stuff to say. There's never like a moment where it's like it clicks. But whatever.
It took the weight out of that, though.
Well, I'm just going to say the way they did the end of episode 4 with him having powers, the way episode 5 starts, you immediately ruin it because you say, oh, he doesn't have powers. He only has powers when he's next to the other dude, which totally ruins it. Because I mean, like the way you made it look, it's like, oh, he's like 11 now. That's what you're thinking when you see that, and that could have been the coming out moment. That was like a good symbolic coming out moment in my mind as an audience member. I'm like, oh, he's realizing it's okay to be gay, and that gives him superpowers. That's a cool kind of way to portray something like that.
Yeah, I'd watch that.
And they didn't have to then go and have him come out. He could have just been so liberated by that shit she said that's the story you're telling me. He doesn't then need the validation of all these people because he's earned inner validation through talking to her. That was a great way to say that. But then they just walk it back by having that scene because now it's like, well, now he does need everybody's validation.
Right.
And you actually made it not about his own like inner strength. And it was about he was like a Jedi warrior. It was like he fucking had become Yoda. That was what you just did. And then they ruined it.
Yeah. And then they kind of almost, they glide over the
like,
weight of that as well.
I guess that was a thing.
So
Yeah.
to me, they're like half-assing Will's character in every regard because they're trying to push so much stuff in. So my question is to the Duffer Brothers, how much money does Netflix need to offer you to rewrite everything that you just did, clean it up, and all we want is 60 minutes of just what it should have been. They could have done everything or give them 90 minutes, whatever, 30 extra minutes on the house. It's on Netflix.
I think what you do, just redo season 5, like you said, but like start from how season 5 was. Season 4 ended with like end of the world apocalypse. So just do that movie. Just do the end of the world, full scale Vecna
2 security
attack.
guards outside the writers' room. No producers from Netflix are allowed in. Let the Duffer Brothers do what they do best, and cut them the check and let them be alone. Leave them alone. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Not that I have any of the answers because they're the ones with the check. They're the ones with the movie. My movie's not on Netflix.
It's over for them. I mean, you
They're-
already made
they're
all the
on
money.
Netflix.
You already made all the money. You don't have to make anything else. They could just do what the kids did and just live off residuals at this point.
Well,
They
right,
don't
and they're
have
going
to
do that, but
anything
eventually
else.
there's going to be some form of creative constipation.
Yeah, it
and they're
happens
going to need
the
to come
best.
back.
Yeah, creative constipation happens to the greatest people. I mean, I think that's the danger. Like I was saying before, it's like how much are you willing to sell your soul? Because what you'll see is people just kind of they have so much potential, and it's only like if you can maintain that like auteur level of doing something that you can remain, you can have that touch. Because otherwise, people just become like weirdly commercial. Or like,
Everything right now is weirdly commercial.
Yeah.
From not only the advertisements that we're seeing in between the television shows, but the television shows themselves.
Been too long, I don't think I could face it.